I'm Chevy, and today on the Daily Shed, we discuss meeting Mary Jane. Hello friends, it's Wednesday. Welcome to the Shed. It's a very special Wednesday for a certain subgroup of people. It's 420. 420 is a day for celebrating marijuana for potheads. And when I was growing up, there was a bunch of rumors about why it was 420. Was it Hitler's birthday, or was it the California Penal Code for possession? And none of those stories are true. As it turns out, it was a group of guys in California called the Waldos who had heard about this mystery crop growing in California, and every day after practice they would meet at 420 and go searching for this crop and celebrate smoking together and all that stuff. Through hanging out with the band The Grateful Dead, they passed on their 420 stories, and Jerry Garcia picked it up and used it. And then when High Times picked up the use of the number, it became worldwide. But it's kind of funny that if this had happened in any other country in the world, it would have been 1620, and there is no 1620. So it had to happen in America. That's a fact. So it's story time. I'm going to tell you about Mary Jane and my experiences with Mary Jane. But first, before we get into that, remember last week when I showed you the postcards that I had made? I had literally made those because I didn't get them in yet. I have them now. I have a bunch of them that I ordered. They turned out amazing. And if you want one of these, all you have to do is send me a letter. I'll put the thing here where you can go to get my address, or in the About page of my YouTube, should be up there somewhere, you can find my full address. Send me a letter. I've always wanted PayPals. I have PayPal. I always wanted pen pals, so all you got to do is send me a letter. I'll open it on the show, and you'll get yourself a limited edition signed postcard. That's special. And if you want to send me something to put on the wall, that's fine too. But really, I just want to write letters all over the world. So send me a letter. That'd be awesome. Thank you. And thank you for making this part of your day. I really, really, really love the fact that you guys keep coming back, you keep watching episodes, you keep commenting, and you keep me going forward. So thank you for making this part of your day. Okay, so back to the show. 420, Mary Jane Day. We've established on the show already that I had several mental disorders as a child, and some of that might have been caused by my use of recreational drugs. I experimented with self-medication because, honestly, I didn't know what else to do to fix the way I was feeling. And marijuana very likely was not my first recreational drug, but I've got this one particular story that I want to tell you, but I have to set the stage. I grew up in the post-Reagan war on drugs era, when it was this huge campaign of essentially abstinence. And abstinence never works. It is like saying, just telling your kids, don't do drugs are bad, doesn't tell them anything. It doesn't give them any information to make an informed decision. And that's all we were told in the 80s. Don't do drugs or you're going to end up like a whack job in a jail somewhere. It can't be that, there's no way. As a child, I looked at that like, you're full of crap. Like, if I smoke a joint, then I'm going to jail and I'm going to be mentally, repressed for the rest of my life and unable to go to the bathroom or something. Like, I don't know. They would show us, like, here's the lungs of a smoker and here's the brain of an alcoholic and all this other stuff. And you're just like, that's not me, right? There's no way that these things can be that bad, especially marijuana. And so they had forced this down our throats so much. Drugs are bad, don't do drugs. Drugs are bad, don't do drugs. That we all just kind of looked at them like, you're crazy. Like, I'm not one of those people that's going to go get hooked on some hard substance and murder my family. That's just not how it works. So if anything, it actually encouraged me to try the drugs out of defiance. Like, I want to see for myself because you guys are crazy. Here I am many years later, and I wish I hadn't. I'm honestly going to tell you that I've told my children that. I've told my niece that. I honestly wish I had never done drugs, but I did, and I experienced them, and things happened. So a lifetime of hearing drugs are bad, don't do drugs, led up to this moment when I was at a friend's house and we were in a questionable part of town and we wanted to get high. So we went and bought some marijuana off of a guy who was literally like sitting on a bucket on the street. And on the way back to his house, we did our thing. I believe we rolled joints. Yeah, I know we did. And we started to get high. Well, we get back to his house, and we hadn't even finished the joint that we had rolled. And we were both just I don't know what this was, but it had to have been something other than marijuana. And that's scary. But that being said, within like not even finishing this joint, my friend literally laid down on the sidewalk outside of his house and went to sleep. Like, just done. So I'm like, I'm going to finish this, like, it was my money. So I proceeded to get him up and into his room. I went upstairs, turned on some music, laid down, and proceeded to have the craziest, silliest solo dream wake state I could possibly have. I thought he was singing to the music, and he wasn't, and it was funny, and I'm telling him to stop, but he's passed out, and it was this totally euphoric experience that is the complete opposite of what I had been told my entire life about drugs. Drugs are bad, they're going to make you a horrible person, and you're going to kill people. And instead, I'm laying on a floor, barely even able to I didn't even want to get up because it was just so comfortable and so soothing and so relaxing to sit on this floor and laugh at this event that's happening all around me. And eventually I did fall asleep. And I tell you what, it would be really hard for me to look at my kids and say, man, you shouldn't do drugs because you're going to be crazy. No, you're not. They're legitimately enjoyable to do them. And that's the problem. What they didn't tell us when I was a kid, that until you're like 21, 22, 23, somewhere in that time frame, your brain hasn't finished developing yet. And if you start messing with that, that's permanent. If I had known that as a child, then I probably would have waited until I was 22 to try these things. Instead, I went deep. I tried them all. I tried everything I could get my hands on as a child, and my brain is now suffering because of that. And that's what we should have told our kids. Don't do drugs now because you will permanently affect your mental capacity. And it also scares me knowing how these antidepressants make me feel now, wondering what that did to my brain as a child. How did all this stuff stack up? Because I used to have this spot-on, crystal sharp memory, and it's just lost. So that's my 420 story. It's not happy. It's not sad. It just is. And that's what drugs are. They just kind of are. They're a thing. Big deal. Don't care. I'm not either for or against people using them. I'm for legalizing them just because my state needs tax money. We could make a crap load of tax money if we legalize marijuana. And I don't see the harm in it. It's less harmful than alcohol. But as a child, and if somebody just told me, wait until you're in your 20s. Okay. The same with alcohol. I waited until I was 21. Part of that's because my grandfather was an alcoholic and my mom drank too much. And I didn't want any part of that. I would have waited until I was in my 20s to try everything else. What's your story? Have you tried marijuana and do you regret it, or do you still enjoy it to this day? I'd love to know. Leave it in the comments. We can discuss it for what's left of 420. I personally do not participate. I haven't since the early 2000s. I will catch you all tomorrow. Don't forget to send me a letter and I'll send you a postcard. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for leaving comments. Now I know what I want the show to be. Now I know how I want to present myself on the show. I finally feel comfortable just sitting here talking. It took like a month, but here I am. Tuesday, the 22nd episode of The Daily Shed, and that's my number. 22 has always been my number. I was born on 2/22, February 22nd, and growing up, everybody wanted to be number 23.